Rise Up. Hi, I'm Ray of Sunshine. I'm so glad that you're joining me today. I'm here to talk about rising up. And the reason I like to talk about rising up is because sometimes it's a little bit more pleasant than talking about falling down. But falling down is what we do a lot of times. A lot of times we fall flat on our face, and the resolution to that eventually is to rise up. You know, I got this calendar, 2022 calendar, that had this on the cover. And you might want to take a screenshot of this. You know, hey, speaking of screenshots, I'll put it back so you can take a screenshot. But I just learned, after all these years, I was kind of born when the idea of computers were born, back in the 1900s there somewhere. And so, you know, I grew up with computers, although I didn't really have much of a relationship with them. So it's been a learning curve for me. And every once in a while, I'm looking at my photos and I say, how did this get here? And somebody says, oh, that's a screenshot. But I never knew how to make a screenshot. And I just learned because I had to send a screenshot to somebody. So I had to look up the instructions and figure it out. And I couldn't get it. I had to call somebody to say, hey, how come this isn't working for me? And she said, well, because you have to do it this way. So I finally learned how to do a screenshot. So you might want to take a screenshot of this, because it has some significance both on a personal level and on a collective level. If you were with me in any of my previous videos, way back, this whole presentation is like an ABC format. And so way back in the beginning of the ABCs, I talked about the dawning of a new day and how that's a metaphor. The dawning of a new day and how that's a metaphor for our lives personally, but also for humanity as a whole. And the shift that we're experiencing now in our consciousness is compared to the sunrise and the idea of going from a time of darkness, overnight darkness, and then the dawn. And this particular period of time right here, sunrise, the sun just coming up over the horizon, is representative of where we are as a civilization, where we are as a society in terms of our overall expansion. So if you were to take the hundreds of thousands or millions of years or whatever it is that your perception is of our existence as a species, and if you look at it from the very beginning, we can think in terms of everything up until now. Now meaning the millennium, as a time of darkness, a time of difficulty, a time of struggle. And we are currently on the verge of the sun rising. So if you look at it in those terms, the comparison is, this is just the beginning of a whole new existence, a whole new consciousness. That new consciousness, that elevated consciousness, has everything to do with perspective. The perspective, for example, of poor me. If you look at if you go to my pilot video, in fact, that's called Why Me, and it might as well be called Poor Me, because it was all about, you know, difficulty and struggle and rising above that. So it's turning poor me into blessed me, and that's what I want to talk about today. You know, I have a social media account that once in a while it pops up these photos from years ago. And I had one from 8 years ago, this time of year. I'm in New England, the United States, and so we're in the middle of winter right now. We just had a couple of fairly nice days, but apparently 8 years ago we had a nice little stretch of fairly warm days, and we were all outside in this photo presentation that I received, playing what we call, I don't know if this is the name of the game, but we call it Holy Moly. And there's this board that has a hole cut out in the middle of it. We're laying on the ground, and there's two of them, right, because there's two teams, and we were taking like washers and throwing them, and you try to get them into the hole. So whoever gets more in the hole ends up being the team that wins. So we call it Holy Moly, and I don't know if that's actually the name of it, but there was a Holy Moly. Some of you may recall. I remember when my son was young, we went to this arcade kind of place, and they had all kinds of kids games, and they had stage shows with these stuffed animals that did singing and dancing, and you could buy pizza, and you spend several hours there climbing through tubes and all different kind of fun stuff. But there was a game that was called Holy Moly, and it looked like a tabletop, and it had all these holes in it with these moles, plastic renditions of moles that would pop up, and you had this big hammer, and you had to bang on the moles when they came up, and if you hit them just right, they would go down. And in a sense, just like my whole video presentation, that's a metaphor for life, for human beingness, and for the things that we incur as we move along our path. And a lot of times, it's a matter of getting whacked, getting bopped off the head, having a tough time, having difficulty. But what we do as human beings, what we do as a race, is rise up. We rise up. Oh, did you see that? My background changed. It was the field of sunflowers, and now it's the night sky with all the stars glimmering up there. And that's what happens. If you follow my presentation at all, you see there's different themes, and the themes represent the transformations that we're going through. So in this particular J section of my video, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, we're transitioning once again into a different energy. And so this represents the transition. We find a new way to focus, a new way to overcome, a way to rise up. So that's the energy that we're in right now, in this period of what some people refer to as the shift. My background changed, the age of Aquarius, the new consciousness, a different energy. And so we find a way to shift the focus from drudgery and hardship to overcoming and to rising up and to realizing the benefit of deliberately changing focus. Deliberately changing focus. Focusing on happiness. What makes you happy? Whose happiness are you here for? And it's all about learning to rise above, learning to refocus, learning to deliberately focus on what makes me happy. Whose happiness am I here for? Because there's no such thing as too much happy. So why not contribute to it? The energy that we're in right now is an energy of focusing on that. It's an energy of different. And that's why in my entire video presentation, I repeat the same things in a lot of my videos. And it takes a while for things to sink in, so I just keep repeating. And so you can hear me present it in a lot of different ways in many of my previous videos. And I actually recommend that because there's a message there for you. The reason I know that is because I put it there. There's a whole lot of different rays of sunshine showing a progression, showing an evolution, showing a dawning of a new day. Hey, did somebody send you this video on a silver platter? Well, now it's your turn to silver platter somebody else. It's playtime. It's playtime. It's playtime. Create you. It's playtime. Create you.